that people were listening. Welcome to the Let It Bleed podcast, a place where you can hear the liquor-fueled ramblings of two narcissistic wizards who conjure the essence of inspirational people every week and bring it straight to you.
And just how do you plan on doing that? Magic. Motherfucker.
And now for the wizards themselves, David Amaya and Phil Arroyo. Whose essence are we conjuring up this week?
You know what? We don't always need an essence to conjure up. I mean, really, I think anybody who is a longtime fan of the show will know that really the essence that we conjure up every week is Jesus. The Holy Spirit is always with us in every episode. He is always a guest on this podcast. Yeah. So, welcome, Jesus.
Jesus really needs to go around the country and tell all those people who claim to believe in him right now that it is not okay to be doing what they're doing, or at least justifying what they're doing.
Hell of a lot of people who are completely full of shit, man.
It's I think that it just goes along with anything psychologically. You can convince yourself that just about anything makes sense, or you can, try to weasel your way in and out of things to justify your means.
Well, I mean, the Attorney General is unironically using the exact same passage in the Bible that was used to justify slavery, too. So, I don't know what that says for you. I mean, you take from it what you will. But I'm pretty sure anybody who's read or at least heard of anything in the New Testament will tell you that, hey, this shit's not cool.
It's really crazy. You got, you see Escape from L.A. You've seen that, right? With
Snake motherfucking
Snake Plissken, yeah. All right. So then, obviously, it seems so exaggerated in that movie when you see that the president is this ultimate holy roller, just holding up the Bible and using certain passages and stuff. But obviously, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And this is, I will say this: I don't think that people, that have faith in any sort of religion are pieces of shit. I'm saying that the ones that pretending in this country right now.
There are tons of wonderful people who are Christians, and they live by those examples every day.
Absolutely.
I would say the vast majority of them.
Many of those examples of that come from the Bible or things too. I think are great lessons in life too as well. So
1000%.
It's just the people. It's the people that are going around and claiming to use. They're using this for their fucking just. I don't know if it's delusional.
If you're cheering putting children in cages and then going to church on Sunday, I'm pretty sure you got a couple more things to confess,
Yeah, but they wouldn't know it because
I don't know.
It's a
whole bubble.
And speaking of which, you got all these fucking things just playing in the background, just striking up these. I
always love playing things. Yeah, Kirsten Nielsen. Yeah, everybody's favorite right now.
Yeah, she's something else. But
yeah. Oh yeah, that's great. She got actually it's so beautifully tone deaf in that she went to a Mexican restaurant on the day that all this is really just coming to a head, And I've been talking about this.
Yeah.
We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, and now it's been ramping up, and the actual ramifications of it and how atrocious everything is also also came to light in the last couple of days.
What my favorite is? When they say, well, this has been going on forever. And you guys are barely starting to care about it right now.
Okay. Wait.
The hipsters of social problems, though.
Fucking hasn't. You goddamn dunces. Okay, first of all, you're listening to reports from these people who are committing these atrocities and just taking them as fact. No. There has always been when you cross into this country and you get caught by the Border Patrol like that, it is a misdemeanor crime. It's a misdemeanor that's usually punishable $50 fine, and they usually, wait some kind of court thing, and then they send him back.
Right.
That's how it's always been, and it's always been handled in civil courts, not criminal courts. So it's never been actually a criminal charge.
Sure.
There. They just kind of do that, and they toss him out there. And it is the policy of this administration. And I'm not kidding, he could have ended all of this with a phone call, because it pretty much started that way, with a goddamn phone call. And to actually start charging these people that are coming in to the maximum, every single one of them, zero tolerance, maximum penalty of the law, and then charging them in a criminal court, which turns it into, okay, now you have to be jailed like this, and thus we're separating you from your children.
Yeah.
And so people are like, well, they're committing crimes. It's like, no. This is like if somebody let's say jaywalked or something like that, and then you threw them in jail. You threw everybody that did that in jail for like 5 years. Like this is what's happening. So yeah, okay, technically a crime, but you're also like scarring children for life.
But it's their parents' fault, Phil. Don't you understand that their parents put them in danger?
And slavery and the Holocaust were also legal.
Sorry,
by the
I don't mean to
government
laugh, but it's
standards,
just
too.
so fucking ridiculous.
No, it's just crazy to me that these people are just bending over backwards to defend this shit.
Like,
And
and
there's
then
so many
and
people who are like-
proudly talk about how their grandfather or great grandfather came here from fucking Ireland and made a life for himself here, you know, by you know, just fucking pulling. But yeah, but nobody gave them shit for working here, you know.
Yeah,
And-
it's fucking madness. And oh shit, I had a point on that one that I wanted to hit home too, because there's been so much like misinformation around this, and it's so frustrating that people would blame the parents who are also following the law. Like the asylum process is a legal process. You come here to this country to a legal port of entry, and you say, "Hey, I'm here. I'm fleeing, gang violence in Venezuela." And I would like to, I fear for my life. I fear for my family's life. Can we please start the process of seeking asylum legally? And they say, okay, why don't you wait right here, and we're gonna go give your kid a bath. All right? Why don't you? Now you guys had a long journey. Just we'll bring him back in like a half hour, and then the kid never comes back. And this is what people have always done things this way and stuff like that. So even those people are having their children taken away, and it's nothing short of. It's got to be like racism, man. I don't see how anybody can look at all of these things that this administration has done and say that it's anything but chumming up, stuff for their base, because they're trying to, they're desperately trying to keep a hold on their power, because they know that their whole world is going to come crashing down around them fairly soon. Like, as the Mueller probe is ramping up and real shit is happening, this is the dumbest criminal organization that I have ever, seen before. And, his campaign chair is in jail right now. Like, people that worked for his campaign that got him elected, they are in prison at this moment as we speak. And these draconian policies, like, what they're banking on is trial by, like, public opinion. And as we've seen so far, there's a good, like, 30% of the country that will follow him. They'll follow him to the camps, really. Yeah. I mean, if it came down to it, these people, the dehumanizing rhetoric, referencing immigrants as an infestation, roaches and stuff like that, and making all these wild claims about everything is MS-13. No, it's not. Like, there are literally no statistics that prove that crime is actually lower within immigrant communities than it is within American ones here. And I get what you're saying. Like, yeah, it's a tragedy if someone, if an illegal immigrant comes here and they commit a crime and they kill your white daughter, which is what keeps replaying on Fox News over there. And I don't disagree with that. That is absolutely horrible. But you're using this boogeyman to paint all these people as that. And now I keep hearing, like, as I'm seeing people try to defend this policy over the last couple of days, because I've been very vocal about this, very active and engaging in conversations. A lot of people are saying, like, oh, okay, well, we got to keep the criminals out. It's like, there were processes and things in place to keep the criminals out. Immigration is not it's not even in the top 10, like, issues that we have in this country, really. Like, before we decided to make it an issue. Before we decided to kick out, dreamers, rescind DACA, do all this, do this family separation shit, send children to camps, and that's not over. I mean, the president signed an order today that said, okay, we'll stop separating the families. We're just going to throw the whole family in jail together, which, is sadly a step forward. It's okay. Well, good. The kids are now in the right jails. Like, there's still a ton to do on that. But, immigrants, they are a net positive for, like, the economy and things like that.
Sure.
And yeah, I'm sure there are plenty that, can come here. I don't know how. I've never actually had anybody explain to me how they can game the system to get, welfare and stuff like that. Whatever talking points that you hear repeated about all this stuff, because they think everybody says, oh, immigrants come here and they get treated better than American citizens. I've yet to see an actual case of that. I'm sure it actually is happening in some way or another, because there's no way that this has just gone as a completely unverified claim. So I'm sure there are examples, but if you look at like the statistics, the numbers, the big data, and not just talking about individual cases to where it seems like it's not fair, the numbers all like even, the Trump administration's like investigations that were launched into this because they wanted to like come up with numbers that backed up all their rhetoric, and they came back going, no, actually immigrants they're a net positive for the economy as a whole. And we're seeing a lot of these problems here in that, like, I mean, anecdotally, I'm hearing, my parents talking about their friends and they can't find people to work for them and stuff like that. People in construction and stuff like that. Up north, they can't find anybody to work different fields. And yeah, they're going to tank this economy over a grudge because immigrants do jobs that Americans don't want to do.
Absolutely.
That's an undeniable fact. Who's going to go out there and pick fruit for?
So how much of it do you think is out of just pure ignorance or with what they're doing, or how much do you think that, I'm trying to word this correctly, because obviously this is going to be an unpopular thing, because I'm kind of trying to find a way to meet in the middle to try to convince people that really are on that side who are just ignorant as fuck and clueless that this is wrong. But those are the same people I'm talking about are the ones that look for little things in these arguments to try to just, well, no, technically that's not true. See, that's just the liberal agenda trying to say this and trying to say that. See, you guys are wrong. Okay, well then let's get past that then. Because this seems to be a very blanket statement to them, which is for us to call it racist. When I think it's very important to point out that racism, in the way that you're speaking of, at least in the way that most people mean with this situation, does not have to do necessarily with the color of a person's skin. Like, it's not because they're Mexicans. At least I don't think so. I think that they have found just a place. It's more of a classist cultural thing where they just think, okay, these people are expendable and they're nothing and worthless, and we can get a bunch of people to hate them to fill our needs, to follow us. We're just going to put all this evil on them. And, before it was Middle Eastern people, or it's always been different people to whatever serves them. But, nationalism also is a form of racism. Like, you go to any other country and it doesn't have to do anything with your skin. You'll have people of all different colors of skin that are fucking racist or nationalist against other people. They fucking hate the other people. Like people from Britain hate the fucking Welsh people. Like, and it's just this crazy thing. So I would just kind of, if we're going to, call it anything, just say that it's pure hate. It's out of that, because that way it gets all those people who are going to try to say, well, it's not racist. I'm not racist, because there are a lot of people that fall under they fall victim to these fucking ruses, and they fall victim to these, false justifications for things that these guys are passing down to them because of other circumstances, right? They're naturally going to fit on that side. And so they're thinking, well, I'm not racist, because in their heart of hearts, they have no qualms with the person based on the color of their skin. Yeah. But there is a part of you that, because you are not looking at these people as people, that's like not even racist. That's just like you're, what would be the term? Like, you just totally disregard human life. For that, like, it doesn't even matter. It's just so bizarre.
That's I read something the other day that was like talking about the difference between, like, because I hear this a lot, it's like a classism, and I would say that's totally true. Isn't that it's you put more of an emphasis on like the class and the categorization matters a lot more than the race. But race, like, I was kind of somewhat recently convinced of this, and that like race is an inalienable part of the conversation as well. Yeah. And that so much of it does affect that.
But as we're growing, we're starting to see that more and more, like, you're like, if as long as you're on their side, they're not going to hate on it. Like, you'll see more and more Mexican people jumping onto that side, and for whatever reason, and it's just like they don't care because you're on our side now. It does become like whoever agrees with us and doesn't make us feel stupid.
And I think there's a, I think we need other words for it and stuff like that.
Right.
I think, racism does cover it in general. And if you look at basically all of the major policies, the travel ban on Muslims, his response to the president's response to, things in Charlottesville and stuff like that, the rise of white nationalism in this country, and ICE. I mean, ICE has been on a rampage. It's been a goddamn Gestapo like this entire time. This is not new. Even going back to Obama, I do want to make that clear. As I was very critical of Obama for ICE under his watch as well. Things have gotten exponentially worse, as you can imagine, since then. And the president is he is a racist, and a racist does not have to mean like they have open, outward, obvious hate for somebody just because they're the color of their skin. A racist. God, and this is where I think we need more words for that.
Yeah,
because
something to meet in the middle, because
thing.
it has to definitely do a lot with just a complete lack of regard for human life outside of his own interests, outside of what is going to benefit, him or. And the sad part is that there are still a lot of people that believe that he actually is trying to do what he said he was going to do, and to them, for some reason, that makes they can negate everything that he's doing inhumanely. He actually is trying to fix certain things. It's not to say that he hasn't gone and done minor things that he said that he was going to try to do, at least, where other people in politics have all failed to even try. It's like once they get into office, they just like keep things afloat. Whereas he's not a politician, he's definitely a fucking.
Well, he's a criminal.
Sure,
he always has been.
Right.
He's been laundering money through real estate projects for a long time. He's been a grifter.
Right.
He's been a professional con man for his entire life.
Yes.
He's never had a giant fortune like he says he has. Every business that he has gone to the ground. And the stuff that isn't, like, it's all coming up now too. Like, do you know who Michael Avenatti is?
No.
Michael Avenatti is the lawyer for Stormy Daniels, the porn star that he was in there. Which, I don't know where the fuck this guy came from, but he has unearthed so many things beyond like just the narrow scope of that one case.
Right.
He has been saying he's been finding like, different holdings and shell companies and stuff like that. That oh man. Okay. Do you know who Michael Cohen is? Michael Cohen was the president's personal lawyer. And he was like the quote unquote fixer. Like, if you've seen like, Goodfellas and stuff like that. He's the lawyer who's, rolling up his sleeves and
the blue-haired
getting
lawyer
shit done.
From The Simpsons.
The blue-haired lawyer from The Simpsons.
When they always like would fight for what's his face? What's his name?
Mr. Burns?
No, probably Mr. Burns too, but for sure like Fat Tony.
Oh,
and,
yeah. Okay, exactly.
So my client, he's
that
really
guy,
high
like,
picture, yeah,
like complete with the Brooklyn accent and everything like that.
My client didn't say that, but like that fucking sleazy guy.
He's the guy who's like, out there like intimidating witnesses and stuff like that. And he has been, Michael Avenatti has eaten this guy's lunch in the most spectacular, shouting proud way.
His milkshake?
He really did. And so the guy, Cohen was, no, was he arrested? No, I don't think he was officially arrested yet, but he actually recently was. This is all what was in the news before, just a couple of days ago. Now everybody's talking about this immigration crisis because, oh, fuck. People thought we were kidding. We were like, this can lead to internment camps. And, oh, no, there's child internment camps, so it's worse than we guessed. But this guy, he's finding things with the Kushners, with Cohen, stuff like that. So like Cohen, he buys an apartment building, or something like that. He buys some like small piece of real estate, and then 2 years later flips it for $6 million profit, selling it to a Russian oligarch and stuff like that. And that's actually happening all over the place, and these things keep popping up between the Kushners, Cohen, everybody in his inner circle there. And so they've got man, they've got so much there, and now the president has completely, screwed over Cohen, and Cohen is going to flip on him. He's turning on him, and he's cooperating with the federal prosecutors and stuff like that.
So
that's
what would
probably
happen to him then for understanding and knowing all of that and not, and going along with it? Or does he get out of that just because he's a lawyer?
I don't know if he would get. Yeah,
honestly,
we don't know the
that's the
terms of his,
trickiest thing even within our whole judicial system. The fact that people, it's we know now, in everyday life, even outside of this, that it doesn't matter if something's wrong or right. It's just because of these fucking loopholes and these things that are on paper that people will just figure it out. It's like hackers just figuring out the new way to get your shit. There's lawyers that can just go through fucking, just papers and shit and figure out whatever they can to screw people over and continue to set, more roadblocks to where they can just keep screwing people over.
And that's been happening, and all these bright lights that are shining down on all of these, all these people that are within his circle. And the cockroaches are really spreading. I mean, I swear to God, it's every and I don't have these
The
pulled
orcs
up in
are
front of me.
rising up from fucking Saruman fucking leading them to
Something like that.
Yeah, it's basically he's bringing them back. You just hear that that horn music, dun, 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 and they're all just rising up from the ashes. And then we gotta get the fellowship together, man. Just go fuck shit up.
I think the fellowship is putting in some serious work right now. And it's not these aren't the sexy headlines. Well, actually, no, some of them are, but it's just I can't see, when I looked at my own Facebook feed,
So who's the Aragon though?
Who's the Aragon? Robert Mueller.
So what's he doing?
He's in charge of the Russia investigation.
And he's just calling people out and shit. Nobody's trying to off this dude right now.
They're trying to. I mean, they're trying to do everything to get rid of him. Trump act. It was reported. White inner circle people in the White House, stuff like that, were leaking information. They were saying, "Oh, Trump thinks that this, the internment camps are this big victory for him and his base, and people love that." And he was going to use this news cycle as a cover, because he's like, "Oh, okay, Space Force, child internment camps, blah 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 blah," and he was going to try to fire the guy who's investigating him and everybody around him for all the crimes that he did, because he did that once with Comey, and now he's trying to do it again with Robert Mueller. And
that
if he does,
is so. But yesterday when I woke up to seeing Dave May's post about Space Force, and I was like, what the what is this? And I'm just trying to think, what is it? They're Google it, and no sooner than I looked it up right there, and you commented, you're like, it's this. I'm like, that is totally what this is.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. How, there is absolutely no way Donald Trump just woke up one morning and was like, we're going to fucking put people in space. Most of his constituents are fucking against the idea of going to space, as far as, I've ever heard them say. They're oh, no, that's, fucking, that's just, ridiculous. Waste of money, and in my opinion, going to space and trying to do that is kind of, but I mean, I know that it's going there too anyways. It's going to happen eventually. I mean, but the fact that he's doing that Starship Trooper shit, he should have just fucking called it Starship Troopers instead of Space Force. It would have at least been doper.
He openly mused about this, just riffing when he was talking to a military academy graduation 3 months ago or something like that. And everybody's like, what the fuck? No, we're not building a Space Force. That's done. And then he brought it up a couple more times, in his own rallies, which he still fucking has apparently, which he's at right now, I believe. And then he's like, "Oh God,
where's the rally
we need
at?
something." Oh, it's in Duluth. Where's Duluth? Is that Pennsylvania?
Yeah, probably
something like that.
Probably get burned to the ground if you came over here right now.
Yeah, it's a damn shame too, because that rally, I saw a couple pictures of it on Twitter right before we went on, and it's full, and the people are just eating this shit up. He'll just say witch hunt, and then just the crowd goes fucking wild, before he gets out there, they're chanting lock her up, to who,
Well, this is
it doesn't make any sense.
Well,
and so that's why I've become convinced that there are the people who are they're still just really diehard supporters of him. If you still are, I'm not engaging with these people anymore, there's nothing I can say. There's nothing I can do to talk them out of this.
I don't think that there's nothing you can do. I think there's nothing you can say for sure. Like you can't talk about it and convince them through that. Well, and it's not going to be an easy thing, and it's not going to be a timely, effective thing in a way, like as far as a strategy to stop them in a way where we can like make it happen to where there's no casualties or anything. There's going to be some fucked up shit happening. And my point is, as much as we need to fucking stay doing what you're doing and stay vigilant,
it's happened. There are hundreds of kids who will never be reunited with their parents.
Of course, and I'm not taking away from that, but I hear people still talking about, you know, giving up certain things that they still shouldn't give up in terms of, you know, positivity. Even though you're fighting these things, you should still remain positive and still, as much as you can, try to refrain from jumping over to a side that you just absolutely know is not going to be effective, unless you want to go to war. Unless it's that, of course, that's what you want to do. Go form a civil war. You know, the thing is, these people are here, and we see that it's getting worse and worse and worse, no matter what we say.
Yeah.
No matter what we say. In fact, everything we say makes it worse. And this is why, as much as we have to go through the motions of voting and doing all of the things that, you know, we talk about that we can do, donate, let people that, you know, or volunteer for things that are making a difference in all of these things. But in your day-to-day life, don't make it a point to try to go out on Facebook and insult people. Yeah. You know, really just try to take that higher ground and push away from them, because this whole thing really is a big rise up of kids that feel like they got bullied because they just weren't smart enough. That's what it is. Yeah. That's fucking what it is.
And there's no going back now.
There's no going back from trying to talk your way out of it. Yeah. And this is where, you know, in every other way outside of that, make people feel fucking cool and welcome, you know, despite all that. I know that it sounds completely, well, we don't have time for that. That's not what we're trying to do. But if you don't talk about that stuff and you don't get tangled up in that stuff, I'm telling you, those little things, though, those little things do change people's minds. Lives do change from certain experiences. And this is all I'm saying. Don't lose that sense of optimism and hope. And
I would say don't lash out.
Don't lash out.
Because at this point, there's nothing... I can't reach out to, you know, somebody who's, you know, all for... who thinks, like, you know, detaining children is a great thing. I cannot reach out and talk you into that. No. And so I'm not going to try.
Sure.
But what I have done, you know, is I've seen some people who are on the fence, and I'm seeing more of this. And so what I've actually been doing is just going around and just dropping some facts, you know, over the past couple of days, and not doing it in an angry way, but just saying, you know, people are saying, oh, you know, these are the laws that they're just trying to enforce. Yeah. And I tell them, well, okay, this was a misdemeanor on the books, and this was handled like exactly what I said at the top of the show. Just trying to, you know, get that point across.
And that will be more beneficial than directly talking to them, because then at least then they don't feel as attacked. But then we know all too well that there are people that will read that and just feel personally attacked because of it, and they'll be their own type of snowflakes, you know, on that end. But
luckily, everybody that I talked to in this last couple of days, actually, it was a very, you know, respectful and good conversation. And even though some of it I didn't agree with, oh, you know, actually, that just reminded me of the thing. It's the like, oh, okay, we should take care. The argument that we should take care of our kids first before we take care of these ones. Where's that outrage? I've seen that come up.
There's always where were people when this happened? Nobody cared about the veterans.
And it's like, okay, you stabbed this kid, and we said, hey, stop stabbing that kid. It's like, oh, well, you know, why are you trying to protect immigrants over American kids? It's like, no, you're the one stabbing him. Please just stop doing that, you know?
Well, I always try to tell people in a simpler sense. It's like, you know, you go to them and pretend like you fucking just got cheated on by your girlfriend. And then she comes up to you and is like, well, what? I've been doing it for a long time. You're barely getting mad about it now? What the fuck? I've been fucking like Jesus and Pedro behind your back this whole time. And you're barely saying something now?
Oh man, what
the fuck?
You gave him the name Jesus and Pedro, and you just set the whole thing back. Anybody who was like starting to get, they're like, oh god,
say it's them goddamn Mexicans.
They're sending drug dealers, rapists.
They're sending them cheaters and them filthy fucking cheaters over here. But it's crazy because, you know, as much as it shouldn't be like accepted What? Go on.
I was gonna say they should be much more wholesome, like our president. He would never do that.
Right. Oh, shit. I mean, there's that whole, what's it called, movie from Idiocracy, and how it basically starts off with, this hillbilly just like boning a bunch of fucking different people and getting people pregnant.
Yeah, the more it goes on, the more I'm like, is that like, did he accidentally like tell some real shit?
Right.
Or what? I get nervous.
Well, I guess, my only thing though is because I bring up the race thing again. I just don't like, as much as we all generalize people, we're all guilty of it at some point or another. But like when people start to throw these generalizations over a whole race of people, it's never going to really make things better. Like, yes, it just happens to be that the majority of the people that are doing these things are fucking white people, and it always has been that way historically, or at least for us. We can't go and just fucking start talking shit about white people in general. They're still just people, though. We need to break away from the color of skin as we start attacking people.
That's such an absurd notion to do that, because how does any one person in this country, like, I mean, okay, obviously there are sects where they would not, but like, how do you not know any like good white people?
Of course,
that's crazy. That's crazy.
But people are doing it, and this is part of the problem, because there are people, whether it's right or whether we don't see it as happening as often here, but unfortunately I do. And the people that I see attacking most people about these things, so I guess you would say, like, in their own privileged way, would be white people. It seems like the people are really, unfortunately, only listening. It's kind of like the joke that's like played out through Atlanta. It's like, the white people try to stick up for the black people in that way, but it's like you still don't get it. You still don't understand, and you're not going to understand. So stop trying to pretend like you understand, and don't try to pretend that, what you're doing, trying to call other white people out and trying to demonize white people, is going to absolve you of what your ancestors have done to these people. Why don't we just break away from that? People are people. And we start acting like that, and instead of saying white people are guilty for all this, and this is tough because I know it's not going to happen right away, because the majority throughout history has been white people oppressing fucking other races. But
his base is almost
almost absolutely,
it's like more than 90% white.
Absolutely. But look how many other fucking people that are just that like they're just white and they can't do anything. And I will say this: I will say that a lot of the Trump supporters that I know now from my high school were guys that were never ever racist before. They in fact were they were guilty of trying to be black. They were just they were what they called the Wiggers. That's what they called them back in the day. Yeah. And they just got along with everybody, but they got bullied for being that, they couldn't do right in that way. And so they would get bullied and made fun of. And then now all this shit happens, and now their perspective is completely shifted, and now they're adults and they went through their phase. Yeah. And now they're, here. But I mean, I wonder what would have happened if they weren't just constantly getting bullied or like talk shit on for being white just because they were white. They like being called racist to other people that were just not even trying to be anything. They were just normal dudes, like, and they got along with everybody, but they were just criticized when they went to college or whatever, because it's like, well, you're white, you don't understand. You're white, you don't get it. You're white. See, it just doesn't make for any positive long-term solutions when you do that sort of thing.
There are a lot of, there's a lot left to be desired when it comes to messaging and reaching out to people and stuff like that. And it's hard to knock the frustrations. And it feels really weird to like be making, excuses for folks like that in the middle of this crisis, because I don't want to be a part, like there's a lot of false equivalency that's going around here, saying both sides are, equally culpable for a lot of stuff right here.
So are you saying this is a white people issue against these people? Or
No. I'm just saying, I just wanted to, like, before I get into why I'm agreeing with all that, because all that is right. But I feel like, giving, this guy, like, saying it is a bad thing, but saying, like, having to qualify my thoughts on that by saying, like, no, white, this white guy, like, it just feels like bad timing, because we're like, oh well, Trump and Hillary. Well, it's like, well, Trump, you get internment camps. Hillary, you don't have that. And sorry, I'm like spinning out here a little bit.
Well, timing though, that's the thing though, is that when is there a better time to like bring it all out to people about like what has gone on and what we're talking about, what has kind of led up to this. Unfortunately, in a lot of ways, it has been what has led up to this, and that's why we're saying moving forward, understand that what is going on is completely wrong. It's fucking bullshit. It's inhumane. It needs to stop. This has nothing to do with whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. This has to do with whether you're a human being, fucking understanding that separating a child from their fucking parents is going to cause so much more fucking trauma for that person's life.
I don't think there is a Republican Party anymore. I don't even want to use that designation because that feels like it attacks a lot of people who I've known who are, they're conservative. They're fiscally responsible. All these classic arguments that have, these age-old arguments that go back and forth. And they're still good people, Right. Just yesterday, one of the top GOP strategists, Steve Schmidt, renounced the Republican Party and said, I'm joining the Democratic Party. Any party who's doing this. Like, he's one of the top people in that. And all of them are just leaving the party in droves. And they've got to... we gotta find them some sanctuary or something like that.
Well, my point though too to this whole thing is though, in the future though, just as how we've seen with the way that the Democratic Party even came about, from how the Republicans were,
how it was flipped, with
exactly.
the Dixiecrats and stuff like
so
that.
What's going to stop at this point the Democratic Party from eventually becoming the new Republican Party and then something else coming around and doing the same thing, as long as we keep adhering to this bi-party fucking system.
That's a great point. I would say we're already there. I would say if you look at the way a lot of corporatist Democrats vote, act, and things that they feel, like even myself, only in this country on this stage do these people qualify as being like left, like liberal and stuff like that.
Right.
Like super like left wing shit is like it's socialism, and I don't. Like it's the left is now like center right, or center. Maybe center left is like the extreme. Like Bernie Sanders is like center left. He's not even that extreme. But everything has just been pulled so far out there we're left having these conversations going back and forth.
Well, we're in a period where we just realize nothing's binary. Like, as much as people try to make that, it's like either this or that.
Yeah.
No, we're like you could feel this way, but have this complete opinion on this, and it just goes all sorts of different ways, right?
Absolutely.
And that's the thing is that as long as we keep doing this, like we all try to fight it as much as possible, and some of us still haven't necessarily given up on our dreams, if you will, right? Or pursuing certain things that are still keeping us. We still have this sense of optimism and youth, whereas a lot of other people, they do what our parents have done and their parents have done before them at their time when they feel that they're an adult. No longer is any of this other stuff. It's different now. It's changing. It's shifting. It's too fast for them. They don't want to cope because why? To cope means you have to think, or to adapt. You have to think, and you have to constantly be progressing. You have to constantly be reevaluating your perspective. But that's fucking hard to do when you got 3 kids and you're not making rent, and you got to wake up every morning and build this routine around this and go to work and do that, and you have to do all of these things. And so eventually that person just like, oh man, our country's going to hell in a handbasket. I remember one time I was at the doctor and I was next to these fucking people, and they just read this article about somebody, murdered somebody, blah blah blah, like something that's always gone on.
Yeah.
Like one of those, but they're like, oh, this country's just going to hell in a handbasket, because they're at this point where anything outside of what they're used to or what doesn't feel comfortable, or even if they're just ignorant to the fact that it's always been going on, they just need to complain about the changes that are going on that they can't get accustomed to. They can't get used to because it's their own personal thing. They can't see this. They're unaware. They're not observant of this because they're so fucking wrapped up in this. It's like a it's a what's it called? A defense mechanism.
Yeah, it's a coping mechanism.
Right.
Yeah, and I get it. And a lot of this stuff is so dense that it is not a reasonable thing to request of every citizen to understand all of these very, very intricate and complicated issues and keep up to date with them, you know?
Right.
I do so at the sacrifice of a, social life and actual personal happiness. But
yeah,
it seems
not most
crazy.
most people are not going to keep up with it as much as you do.
Yeah,
You
and it's frankly, it's a fucking sickness,
No.
But like, you can't expect everybody to, to even begin to try to understand all these things because it's not reasonable. I've been at this for a very, very long time just because the shit always fascinates me. But
Because we're in a point right now where like you can't like
my life is kind of easy,
Yeah.
especially compared to a lot of people out there who are struggling to get by, especially if you are out in the Midwest, one of these people who are, the forgotten people, the real Americans. These people are, they're plagued by opioid epidemics. Automation is driving all of their jobs out of this country. Those jobs are getting sent overseas and stuff like that. And we don't have any like middle class working jobs. There's no more factory things anymore, And I think we did not do enough to incentivize new types of factories over there because we need to acknowledge our role in the world right now as a like developed nation and stuff like that. The days of steel workers and coal miners and stuff like that, those are gone. Those are never ever coming back. We need to be able to reach these people in rural zones and stuff like that. And
now
get them
there's
trained on being like
Bitcoin miners.
Well, we need to.
That's what they're called. Bitcoin miners.
Also, Bitcoin miners. Also, those are computer algorithms. So those are not real people. They're not real jobs. Like.
Wait, I thought that there were like people that like took jobs as Bitcoin miners, but they're probably the people that create the algorithms.
No, they're building rigs. Like all they're doing is building computers, which is, I mean, it sounds a lot harder than it is. It's fucking Legos, And they're building these computers with super advanced processors and stuff like that, and they're just running them all day and all night to mine bitcoins because Bitcoin is it's an algorithm that your computer does and stuff like that.
Right.
And so a Bitcoin miner, I guess, would be somebody who focuses all their time just mining for the Bitcoins.
Today, I had a really interesting interaction with this gentleman in the gallery, and he came in there, and he was a nice guy, really nice guy, and he was talking to me, but, I work in Orange County, and you're going to get those people there that it's just that they're looking at it through this tunnel, that's just how they're looking at it. And, and as far as the logic, as much logic as they can, receive at a time that makes sense to them, that's about as much as it can get. And I guess, okay, so what he was trying to say was that one of the DeVosses, you listened to this thing, he told me it was called Magnificence and versus something, I'm butchering it, but he was basically trying to equate how he was creating this allegory with Michael Jordan playing on a basketball team and how he's just scoring so many more points than all the basketball players, and how you're not going to make you're not going to make restrictions from him from jumping high enough or doing this and that just because he's on the same playing field, basically saying that like you can't restrict people or start to punish people for making more money in our economy than other people. And I straight up told him, I was like, well, yeah, but the difference is every single one of those players are still getting paid enough to afford healthcare and take care of their families and shit. They're not broke ass motherfuckers. So in that,
that response.
In that regard, like, and that was just like a random thing because he was just like, oh, like you didn't think about it that way. It's like you're equating, playing on a basketball field. Well, first of all, our lives shouldn't be like that, like a basketball game where you're going off the skills of just one skill set. There's so many things to consider, and the bottom line is that there have been so many things set up to where those people just can keep making more money, and the people down here just don't make enough. Like there's no minimum wage can't afford rent for anybody in this country right now.
Yeah. And there's that report just came out. There's nowhere in the country where minimum wage actually is a living wage that can actually like make your rent for you. But yeah, there's a I've been watching The West Wing, right? You know that show?
Yeah, I never watched.
This is from like the 90s and stuff like that. We've been watching it, just binge watching the whole thing. And it's amazing how everything they're talking about there is the shit that we're still talking about now. And it's incredible. But that just all of those things, like these things that you're talking about, it's like, well, you wouldn't tell Michael Jordan he couldn't jump this high and stuff like that. It's like there's a moment in The West Wing where the president, he's running for re-election and he's up against his his opponent from Texas, and they say, what do you want to do when you're president? And he says he says something like that, which sounds right, it's simple, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And then he says and then the president, the president's running for re-election, goes, there it is, that's the 10-word answer right there. What are your next 10 words? And what are the 10 words after that? Because this is not that easy. There's no easy solutions to this. That feels right. But how? How do those things that you're doing, how does not putting the restrictions on there help these people and stuff like that? And there's so many things that I start talking about and I half remember, and I feel like I don't always get them there, but fucking go back and watch that shit, because it's a brilliant and beautiful moment. And to deconstruct it, and that, like, a lot of people think a lot of this shit is easy, I think these solutions, like, if the solutions were easy, we would have done them a long time ago, but they're not. And that is, we do need people to, like the tax system is very, very intricate, and it's designed to kind of incentivize certain ways of spending wealth. And I'm not necessarily opposed to that, nor am I opposed to like personal income tax, breaks and stuff like that. What you're making personally, like as a person, like, yeah, I don't always agree with it, but if they want to put no limits on that, and have those kind of taxes kind of stay as low as they are, okay. But there are, like, I want to keep the money in this country, though. I want to keep that money from going out there, and I want to keep people, keep corporations and businesses and capital gains and estate taxes and stuff like that. All of those things are where people kind of hide the real money everywhere. Right. And those are the things that I want to get out there. And so I'm not telling you that you can't make $200,000 a year for you personally and your family and stuff like that.
Well, that's the biggest lie of it all, is that, that's what his whole campaign was like, telling people that's what we're going to do. The fucking, it's telling them all, like, we're going to bring back jobs to America. And yeah, he might, like, put some factories back in business here and there, but it's like, no, this motherfucker's still doing all of these deals that you have absolutely no idea about with other countries and shit. He's, like, doing his own fucking thing. It has nothing to do with bringing the jobs back over here for you.
Oh yeah, it's all showmanship. Like, literally all of it is showmanship. It shows no actual thinking, and he's making this stuff up as he goes. Literally all the people in this administration are following behind him, trying to cobble all these things together as he's saying them, Like, look at the summit that he just had with Kim Jong-un, There was no substance to any of that. But Trump, like, people are trying to give him the Nobel Peace Prize. His own base, anyway, is trying to give him, like, the Nobel Peace Prize. He feels really good about that, and he's trying to make a show of it, And he got nothing. He gave away military exercises in South Korea. So, I don't see how you look at that as I'll take that over them arguing on Twitter, trying to keep each other, like, say, oh, I'll blow you up, no, I'll blow you up, whose fucking dick is bigger. I will definitely take that over anything else. And I'm just going to go ahead and spin out right here, because I cannot carry this conversation by myself. Little line going. Okay, so we took a little break. And let's pretend that there was a good segue into what we were just talking about off mic. Sex workers,
the normalization of sex workers and pornography, the good, the bad.
I'm just gonna take a hard L, guys. So fucking, the show, live with it. Anyways, I saw that documentary.
We went from fucking talking about all this, like, other shit to this, to, I don't know, is it serious or not serious? Anyways, yeah, the sex worker documentary, and You haven't seen Boogie Nights.
I have not seen Boogie Nights. No, that's not the documentary that
is
we're
not the
referring to, by the way.
documentary, no.
No, I'm talking about there's a documentary. Do you remember what it was called? It's on Netflix.
There's one.
It's about.
There's one. I know what you're talking about. There's one called fuck.
I just know it's about Rocco Siffredi, the famous porn star.
There's also another one that said you're something about you being pretty enough for basically just the exploitation of that whole industry on girls. You know, like how they draw them in and, you know, kind of allure them with these, you know, promises and just like anything else. They show them all these other girls. They're making this much money, and obviously they do, and they can. But it just, I think it would probably just depend on which crowd you get involved in, and because there's different levels, I would imagine. You know, there's like amateur people, like random dudes that are just doing this like in their house, like they call you over to their house. Yeah. And there's a lot of those ones that like they try to pretend anyway that it's like sleazier than what it is. Like they just called you up and they don't like they're calling you over for like a casting call, like on a couch in a room for like a music video or something, and then they end up talking you into having sex. And you know that is bullshit.
Yeah,
because,
it's all that shit's.
But it's still so fucking weird that they do that. You know, it's just like, and it, regardless of whether it's bullshit or not, that's still a very like lower. I don't know, like a shady. It's still shady.
You don't want to reinforce those ideas and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, because it's totally that's what you're doing out there. And so you know with the whole, a lot of what's going on out there with people, with kids, just you know, they don't understand because they're not given the proper fucking instructions. Like they're kind of taught to abstain, but they're not going to. They're gonna go watch fucking porn. And they're learning from porn, from this total false reality, this way that like guys can just talk to girls this way and just get fucking laid, you know, and like do this sort of thing. It's like, no, like this is where they're learning about sex, unfortunately.
Yeah.
This is where kids are like watching and learning how to do what the fuck they think they're going to do. Like that's not where they should be learning it. We should have way more open dialogue about this sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying is that like I think we bring the discourse up by like bringing a lot of this stuff into the light and legitimizing a lot of it too. You know, in the 20s, like if you were in alcohol sales, you were, you know, you're shooting people on the street, you're a criminal, you know? And as we destigmatize stuff, hopefully that forces the industry to be better as these options are become safer and people are doing stuff. But right now, I mean, it is, as far as I know, a pretty, you know, safe and regulated industry, at least in like the professional stuff going on. Because I've taken like a sex ed course, you know, and they had a porn star come in and he talked about all of his like experiences and like actually what goes on set and stuff like that. And I watched this documentary the other day that kind of backed up a lot of that stuff. But you know, some of these people, they're in pain. You know, that's what was very shocking to me is how intelligent like this guy was that they follow along the documentary, and how like much of a tragic figure much of his life has been, and it's this weird compulsion that's like being exploited for his professional work. You know, it's like it feels like it hurts him when he's doing this stuff. I mean, that's also just this guy. It's a weird situation. I think we need to be on some levels. I think there's a lot of it that like we need to be taking more seriously as far as health concerns with the way that, you know, we're all consuming it really, but especially kids who are growing up and not having the proper context to, you know, to take all this information in.
I think that's
and it's
a
coming
huge
at us
thing.
And changing at such a crazy pace. And I do wish that I meant for that to be a double entendre, but I just heard it as I was saying it, and I'm still going to take credit for it anyway. Oh, man. So
anyways, aside from politics and porn, what else has been going on in the world? You just got back.
Thank you for giving me an episode title, by the way.
But
aside from politics and
porn, you were just at your annual...
Oh, can we please not segue directly into my like work and professional career from talking about politics and porn? Can we talk about... Let's talk about what happened... how was Art in the Park?
Well, it was actually really fucking good. So we did it on a Saturday this week, or this last week, and it was unusual because we always do it Sundays, and you know, I kind of thought when I was waking up to, I had this weird like feeling that it's Saturday. What if something else is going on in the park? You know, like that's kind of a day where a lot of people get together and do stuff. Sure enough, roll up to the spot where we usually are. And all of those fucking horseshoe, you know, did you ever wonder when we were there, like those horseshoe fucking courts, like how many people do you get here to play fucking horseshoes, to throw horseshoes?
Down on fucking.
There was a whole fucking
man.
tournament going on. Like, you know, we're like, we gotta go talk to this fucking people who set up this horseshoe tournament because these motherfuckers could bring people out here on a weekend to go fucking throw some horseshoes.
It's like horseshoes and cornhole. I don't get it, but people around here lose their shit for those two
Totally.
games, I swear.
I mean, I understand the cornhole, like when you're drunk and you're at a bar and they have one set up or something like that, you know, that's a whole different thing. But like this was these dudes like grinding out with fucking, you know, sunflower seeds and probably even fucking skull and just like sitting there on a bucket watching their friends do it as if it's like a fucking, you know, mixture of a softball tournament and a handball tournament together. Like it's just the weirdest thing. And there's all these fucking cars lined up and I'm just like,
there's a lot of cheering for such a boring fucking activity.
Right. And then there was a softball tournament going on too. So I'm like, shit. Luckily, as you know, it tends to be this way with our friends and people that show up to our events. They showed up late. And so it just so happened that we got the sound there late. Everybody showed up late. And so everything got pushed back. And we just happened to be starting the music right as they were like starting to kind of pack up and leave. And surprisingly though, nobody really got upset or said anything. And once again, you know, that park is just amazing. Like we get away with so much there in terms of sound and
I think it helps is that we don't have like a, you know, we don't have a grimy like group of people.
No.
You know what I mean? Everybody is like, you know, respectful of people and nice, and we're not trying to, you know, get out there and cause trouble. And I feel like if any element of that ever did even, you know, feel like it was starting to creep in, that would get shut down real fucking quick. And so I feel like people are responding to, like, they're looking past the you know, the aesthetics or the music, you know, that electronic music that all these kids are listening to loud nowadays. They're looking past that, and they're going, okay, like, oh no, these people are just, they're there and they're painting. You know, painting I think is I think that's a great like non-threatening activity.
Sure.
You know.
Yeah.
If everybody's out there, you know, skateboarding, smoking weed, like they're like, "Oh, what are these hoodlums doing?"
Yeah.
But no, we're all out there painting.
No, it was great, and
building yurts.
we didn't have a yurt this time. We haven't had it. In fact, the Elixir Bar may not necessarily be coming around for a little while. But it doesn't.
Well, they're blowing up and stuff, right?
Well, you know, Hunter's on to different things. So just always doing something new. And
aren't we all?
Exactly. So speaking of new, in addition to Art in the Park, last week was another big event for us. You know, it was Come Together, the after party, which, whoa, blew my fucking mind. I mean, I wish that more people that normally come around that weren't around last weekend just, you know, came to see it, because I would have never guessed that it would have actually been as successful as it was. Hunter literally, I mean, like last Wednesday, we went and talked to the people. He hit me up, I think it was Monday or Tuesday. He was like, hey, we don't have to worry. We got a spot where we could throw a party anytime we want. I want to throw a party this Saturday after Art in the Park. I want to throw an Art in the Park after party. I'm like, oh, fuck. I mean, thinking about how long the day is going to be. But I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Why not? Yeah. And Wednesday night, I go out there after I get off work to the spot, and we talk to the people who are throwing it, kind of negotiating what we're going to be doing. And we're just like, you know, we're going to just see what happens. And I had no idea. Never dealt with something like that, where you're kind of worried about making cost and whatever, but it just fucking...
Well, there's like a big risk involved.
Yeah, it was like the first thing, and it just blew my mind how many people showed up. It was a fucking party, and, you know, as they were saying after hours till 6 a.m., and I'm thinking, there's no way I'm going to be going till 6 a.m. I was there.
You went till fucking 6 a.m.?
I was up at 7 a.m. that morning for Art in the Park, and I left, and I didn't get home till 8 and didn't fall asleep till around 9.
Damn,
in the morning.
son.
Yeah, it was one of those days. And it was fucking fire spinning. It was just insane how many fucking people literally came together. And, you know, whether we throw something there or not, it was just that was kind of the realization that set in for us. It was like, we've got something here. we can really make something happen with this.
That's awesome.
And yeah, I'm really stoked on it. And so that happened. And then I went to Base Waffles the next night too. So I couldn't really sleep much that day.
You've been on a good one.
Yeah, this past weekend was, I mean, the sleep debt from this weekend is off the charts. Like,
It's piling up, yeah.
I'm gonna be pretty sad tomorrow morning actually too. Just like, you know, going right back to work and doing it all over again. But it was amazing, and everybody that came out, thank you very much. You guys were fucking awesome, supporting us, and just having a good time, meeting new people. It was always beautiful. And there was a lot of our friends that didn't go, but you know what? When we do something again, I just know that it's beautiful that you get that many people there, and there's a lot of people missing.
You got a large
because then
enough
you
roster,
know that there's going to be more people.
Roster.
When people, I always say this about Art in the Park. You know, every time there's new people that come and people that usually come that don't show up.
Mm-hmm.
But when they finally all come together on a certain event, it's going to be like fucking ginormous.
Yeah.
It's going to be ridiculous.
And I'm sorry I couldn't make it out, man. I was still so fucking sick that day because I was, you know, in close quarters with 70,000 people shaking hands. And yeah, that's exactly what happens. I caught what I like to call E3 Bola. And so actually it wasn't until yesterday that yesterday I think I was still like coughing and hacking like the last of it up. It was actually today where I am actually officially showing no symptoms. So we can lift the quarantine and all that. But yeah, no, I had a hell of a week too, man. It was fucking crazy. And actually that reminds me, like there's this guy that's or a couple of guys actually that have been working for me for the last like year and a half or so when I go to these different events and do these things. And I noticed that he's been around for a little while, so he's kind of like one of the guys who were like, okay, we look to him as to help us lead and stuff like that. He's a super cool, good dude. I noticed he had a Third Eye Pine Cone like pendant. He was rocking that at work. I'm like, oh shit, hey Ronnie, is that a Third Eye Pine Cone? He's like, yeah, man. He told me the whole story about how he was at Lightning and did that. I'm like, oh, I didn't know you so you go to festivals and shit like that. Yeah. So we were all talking. We got to talking for like a long while about this. He's like, yeah, man, I wish there's more stuff to do. I'm like, well, dude, there's plenty of like, small crews, even in this area around LA and Orange County, like we know a ton of them and they're all popping off. And it's not like lightning big, but man, there's never nothing to do around here. Hell, me and my friends, we do this all the time. He's like, oh yeah, I know one of them. Like I mean, I know some. He's like, do you know? Have you ever heard of K Tribe? I'm like, what the? Are you serious right now?
Of course.
And I was like, yeah. I talked to them like every single day, and we were just hanging out. He's like, yeah, so like Doggo? I'm like, yeah, Doggo's like doing it. And so I was like, then I got to telling him about everything that we got going on over here. I'm just like, holy shit, man, small world.
Yeah.
So I got him all wrapped up in this shit. So I invited him out there too. But yeah, no, it was a brutal week, man.
It was funny. It was funny though because like Kid Tribe naturally they like always they hold it down and they come out and they party and like there's like a lot of them that they just support and they'll be there through the whole night, and keeping it going. But Hunter as well, just that dude like knows so many fucking people. Like it was just insane how many new fucking people I met that night as well. And it's just growing. The community that we've got going over here is
the community
definitely
just
growing.
builds and builds,
Mm-hmm.
and it's building into something great, man. And it's so crazy as I'm seeing more and more of these little things. I feel like that, not that specifically, but I feel like more and more I'm recognizing people who are out, they're rocking like a Desert Hearts chain or something like that. Or it's like you can kind of tell there's like a little bit of a bohemian element that a lot of people have been working into their style that I've been able to actually call out and talk to strangers and then have this like crazy thing in common with them. And it's a beautiful thing because it also is that sense of community because it's like, okay, if I can identify you as part of it, I know that one of the central tenets of a lot of this festival culture is that it is so open and that you don't have to worry about going and talking to a stranger like that. It's not gonna be weird. Like people are just, they're open, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of what I'm talking about, though. Taking the festival environment, what we learn at least from the beginning, before it becomes too saturated for us, before it starts to become diluted by other people that seem to come in there and kind of destroy it. We should always be able to keep that.
Yeah.
That element from what we loved about it and try to spread that out into our daily life as much as possible, even when it doesn't seem, even when it seems, extremely difficult. But an example of, at Art in the Park this past weekend, where it wasn't difficult at all, but it was something that most people might not do. Myself, I probably wouldn't naturally do, but there was, they could hear the music on way over by the restrooms. There was like a lady walking. I don't know if it was her son, or it didn't seem like it was her son. It seemed like it might have been like a nephew or something like that. They were walking by, and like she was kind of dancing. I was like, "You guys should just go, like, come over, hang out." And they're like, they were like interested. What's going on? I was like, "Just come," Brought them over there, just made this little guy just like feel so freaking cool, because he was cool.
Yeah,
he was dope, and he was just like looking around, like, there's kids too, because naturally they're kind of looking like they see adults hanging out. There's music. What's going on? It's like there's kids over there too, because there was a few of the kids hanging out, painting and stuff. And so he comes by, and they're just checking it out, and they're like, "Man, this is cool. Where do you guys live?" "Oh, we live right down the street." "Oh, okay. Like, like, when do you guys do this?" "Oh, you'll hear us, if you live down the street, you'll hear us whenever you come. Just come on by." Like, "Okay, we will." That's
a beautiful thing, man.
It's beautiful.
I love that.
It's amazing, because you're including just about anybody and everybody, and like that's not something they'd expect. Naturally, somebody walking down the sidewalk at a park, hearing something like that, they're gonna think, "What's the catch? Like, what do I got? Like, do I have to pay something?
Yeah.
What's going on? Is that a birthday party that I'm not invited to?" Like, just this inclusivity that people that festivals provide, that when you're there, it just all of a sudden makes sense, or feels like you're more likely to go up to somebody and just spark up a fucking random conversation with them, or make them feel included into your group of friends. That's kind of what we need to have more, and make it more normalized.
And I think that idea, that's such a wonderful idea, that actually can, in a small way, one person at a time, actually heal a lot of these problems that we're looking through.
Yes.
Yes. Exercising this, unconditional kind of radical kindness, I think is the antidote to so many of the problems that are plaguing us right now.
Exactly.
And I'm seeing it in my work. Last week, being able to just it's stressful. It's hectic. I'm working 12-hour days. I partied, all night the night before. I'm not feeling my freshest the next morning, stuff like that. People are coming at me, aggressive sometimes and stuff like that. People are there's a lot going on, but the fact is, like, when I'm out there for work, all these people and I share the same kind of love and passion for, this art that's being made by the more talented people than myself at my company. And to see, like I had this beautiful moment, right, where there was this lady, and she was there with her son, and they were both gigantic fans of Assassin's Creed. So we announced a new one, and everybody was going wild for that. So we had these very exclusive things that were giving out at the at E3 at the show. And this lady just came up to me after we had capped all the lines in the last day, and going like, "I'm sorry, because we got swarmed, hundreds of people instantly all weekend." And it was just so crazy to kind of keep all that stuff managed, because people do love this stuff so much. And she came up to me, and I could just see, like, the sadness in her eyes, going like, "We are such big fans. We love this stuff." She had a tattoo of, the symbol on her forearm. I'm like, okay, like this, I believe you, And she was saying, like, we were trying to do it right. I feel like we kept getting forced out. We could not get in. We really just wanted this stuff. And to be able to kind of like make an exception, go in the back, grab her, get her one of like the exclusive things that we had at the show for her. And I told her, I'm like, "Look, like, this, everything that we do is nothing without people like you. And we so appreciate that." And that's what keeps me going. That's what keeps a lot of people that I work with going, is knowing that it's not just about, it's not like a frivolous thing. It's not something that like is written off. These are things that really matter to people, that they take these things and they internalize them so much. These stories, they're an escape. They can be interpreted in any different way. And I just feel so lucky to be able to be a part of that, and to be able to actually, like, hook her up with something that, not everybody was able to get, and to be able to give that to her. And she cried, and she was so thankful. And I'm like, that is what makes all this stuff so beautiful, And it would be really easy, because I had to actually walk like a good half mile to actually run out and go get the thing from a truck and then bring it on back. But like that extra effort has never not been worth it. And I've seen it also with, like we were saying earlier, when I've been talking to people online, because I spend probably too much time on Twitter, a good amount of time on Facebook, especially this week, talking with people and exercising patience and kindness above all else, and not, coming back to name calling and throwing out insults and stuff like that, not being unfair and staying true to the values that are important to me and exercising that. And one of actually the best moments that I had on Twitter this week was talking to somebody who was coming at me real aggressive for something that I tweeted, and I didn't agree with him. It was a mindset that I do not typically, I'm not as copacetic with, but actually exercising some patience. And when he's insulting me, I'm coming back and saying like, okay, well, if that's how you read what I wrote, maybe that's a fault of my own. I want to make sure that I am, communicating effectively.
Sure.
Because at the core, we're on the same team. We're both Americans. We both feel this stuff. We both want to make sure that justice and righteousness is served.
Yeah.
And I feel that because of this and this, that's why we got this. And if you're seeing me as saying this is this, I'm actually in agreement with you. I think that is wrong, stuff like that. And over a series of probably too long in my own time, like a good 45 minutes of a back and forth, 45 minutes to an hour of like a back and forth. He's like, you know what, man, I'm sorry for coming at you like that. Like you're right. We are like on the same team. Yeah. And that little moment right there actually like just reaffirmed like this, this idea. And
nobody
that, like,
said it'd be
patience,
easy. Yeah.
kindness, not being reactionary, not trying to inflict hurt or damage, by doing that first. Because at the end of the day, man, we got, and we said this before, we've got so much more in common than is different. Exactly. We all want justice. We all want righteousness. We all want peace, love, and prosperity for as many people as we can get it. I don't know many, if any, people who actually want, certain people to be less well off. You know what I mean? I don't know any like by the biggest, most, aggressive definition of racism. I don't know people like that.
Right.
I don't know people who truly harbor that kind of hate in their heart. You know what I mean?
They're just trying to latch on to something, and they don't want to budge. They don't want to be told what to do. They want to be felt like they were met in agreement with somebody else on something. And so by you doing the thing that doesn't seem efficient, or it doesn't seem like it's making any difference. Like, I get this all the time. Well, we don't have time for that. Like, as if this is like a war that we have to finish right here and that we don't have time for that. Well, then what do you have time for? Because in the long term, this is what's going to make that difference. These things, showing somebody that you are with them, not against them. Because why are we against each other? Because we fall this side of this line or this side of that line, when really we know that there's probably way more things, like you said, that we agree on than disagree with. Just that one simple thing that we fucking disagree on. That we're and it's in our own sense, we both bought into this fucking thing because that's what it's designed to do. We're fucking, we need to fucking live by example and not by fucking just, saying a bunch of things too. So when we're talking about all these progressive values and you really want this change to happen, but you're unwilling to sit there and try to do the one thing that might make it happen, then you're not progressive. In my opinion, you're really not trying to make the world a better place. You're just trying to be right. You're trying to you're no better than them in that regard. You're trying to latch onto something that you're not going to budge on, and it's really like, okay, yeah, if you're right and they're wrong, but you understand that, going at them and attacking them for having a different view than you, rather than trying to sit there and talk about it in a way that doesn't come off as condescending, in a way that doesn't come off as like you're belittling them. Yeah, well, we don't have time for that. Well, then it's not going to be effective. You got compassion is a.
I would say your energy should be spent efficiently, and so that if you see somebody spouting off some hateful rhetoric and stuff like that, you don't go and just confront that person and spend a ton of time trying to be reasonable with it, nice or not, they're not going to listen to you, know, and there is that going on, but don't attack them back, because that's only going to entrench their views, and maybe it'll make you feel better for a second. But if you're talking about like the ultimate goal, the cause, trying to change hearts and minds, change the culture that allowed all of this crazy shit to happen in the first place, you're not doing yourself any favors by outright attacking a lot of the people that we've seen. Now, to be fair, like, if somebody's outright spouting Nazi propaganda and saying, death to Jews and black people, stuff like that, yeah, okay, fuck that guy, all right? But there's a long, there's a lot of area in between that and, probably most people who still are holding on to a party that they once knew, and that people are complicated, and that the answer isn't,
what I see with people like that is that the deepest down, those people are looking for love, man. They just never got it one way or another.
And a lot of times they need an out too.
Think about the Grinch. This is my cartoon analogy.
Yeah.
At the very end of it, after he got up to the top of the mountain, ready to just fucking dump out all their fucking presents and shit, he looked down and he saw them fucking singing together and loving each other, and he understood by their example what that was, and it made him fucking just completely literally have a change of heart. It grew, as in the cartoon, and it's a cartoon, but it was created from an illustration, based off an illustration by Dr. Seuss, to show people, like, that guy just had such a way of like making people see things in this child's like view of what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, these simple but very vast and general ideas of humanity, and just putting it with these creatures so that these kids can make sense of it. They don't have to put all the political ties to it to understand that, well, there's the differences between these people, and it's really, we're all just a bunch of overgrown children that have these problems, and we're just assigning random titles to them and everything, but we're just fucking overgrown children, fighting with each other over toys in the playground. So really, once we can realize that and acknowledge that, we got to learn how to be compassionate the way children can often be compassionate. I'm sorry. You
can break so much of this down to ego and just very intricate, complicated human emotions, and why somebody can be kind of trapped in their own ego and their own thoughts and stuff like that. That would keep them from, acknowledging some stuff. And there's coping mechanisms that stop people from stuff. So it just be empathetic towards all of these things. And if at the end of the day, if the action that you're taking is ultimately going to be a beneficial one, a positive one, stuff like that, maybe you don't have to take the punitive measure. You don't have to punish somebody for, thoughts that they had or beliefs that they held on to for so long, if it's not going to do any actual good.
Yes.
I'm preaching reform, advocating reform over punishment. And that's a difficult line to cross, because every single situation is going to be different. But I just wish more people would kind of think in those terms.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if you realize that it will never be 100%, it's pushing that rock up the hill, and learning how to love doing it. As I've said a few times in the show, there's that what was his name? And totally fucking Sisyphus. Sisyphus. Pushing up the fucking rock up the hill. And the only thing that you just have to do is learn how to love doing it. It's hard work, but it's better than succumbing to not pushing for the right thing, to falling into the dark side, if you will.
Yeah, it's really easy to kind of get angry and lash out.
Nobody said it was going to be easy.
And I feel a lot of that too. But instead, what I chose to do was post a list of charities who are doing good work this week for immigrants and a lot of the detainees that we have out there, people who are working on the front lines to actually make a huge difference in these people's lives. And raising awareness is incredible, because it actually got the shit to stop. It actually got everybody to take some shame, and it stopped this, because of the National Public Outrage. So the tweeting and the Facebooking, like, that actually does have an effect. that is doing something good. So that is something, you know. But we can all do more, and we can all do better, you know. I also donated $20 to the ACLU, and actually, I'm pretty stoked and happy that we were actually just the post that I made about that. We were able to get $70 for the ACLU. So I feel like we were able to kind of magnify that. And so I thank everybody who actually did help and donate, because those guys are the ones who are actually out there making sure that this administration, which is this is where it's okay to say fuck those people who are doing this. All right. But the people who are not, informed enough to say the same thing, like those people are not the people who deserve our ire. Not yet, you know.
No. Well, this has been hopefully for most everybody something that kind of could help you see the light a little bit differently from whichever tunnel you may or may not have been looking through, because we all tend to kind of have a perspective that we come from, and if there was any questions or any concerns, that hopefully you got some answers from it. From what Phil was saying,
it's easy to get wrapped up in a bubble.
Yeah,
absolutely. A lot of times I'll scroll through stuff and be like, what? And then I'll be like, wait. That's what I think. That's what I feel. What do other people have to say about this? How would somebody else interpret this?
There was this really good fucking meme yesterday that I saw, and it was like something I love. What you read was or something about big dicks, but it was spelt wrong. It says you read that wrong, and then the next thing says you read that wrong too, and because it was also.
I feel like I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's also just the things that jumbled up because it's not what it says. But you look through. We read it real quick, and we kind of get a general overview of what it's supposed to mean or what we think it's supposed to mean, and we go with it. And it says, well, this was just designed to show you that things that you thought, based on your assumptions, were not necessarily fucking true. To re-examine and reevaluate things constantly. And I thought, fuck yeah, this is such a good, this is, a very, very practical lesson too. Like we're all guilty of this at some point. Like you're just saying, you can go through and have a quick outrage or something, and you're just like, oh shit, yeah. If I only just read a little bit more into it, or
no, I've made mistakes. I've been too quick to the draw. I will be the first to tell you that I fucked up, and if you catch me on it, please call me on it.
Yeah,
and I'll try to make it right.
Right. And that's what we all need to do. Fuck, it's okay to be wrong.
It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to admit that you were not correct, or that facts were not there, or that to recognize these internal cognitive processes and recognize that you've fallen prey to your own brain.
It's really weird watching a podcast when you're recording a podcast, especially when you want to be wearing the fucking hat like Neil deGrasse Tyson and the suit. You just want to be rocking it out like him. Yeah, or you also want to be like Joe Rogan.
With the autoplay.
I know, right? This is the first time this has happened in Kevin Spacey's basement. Well, anyways, anything that we're trying to promote coming up?
We got the Big Bang coming up on the 28th.
Big Bang.
Yep.
Bang, bang.
Bang, bang. That's going to be dope as hell.
So, yeah.
You know what? Actually, you know what? I'll go ahead and announce it. I don't think I've actually told you this yet. But I've been working on opening a dispensary.
You have told me this.
A very long time. But did I tell you that it's happening? We got a building. We got everything. It's official.
You told me so much as the fact that it's for sure happening.
Oh, okay, yeah. So it's for sure happening, and everything's kind of processing through, and hopefully we'll be submitting permits and shit like that in as soon as October.
Fuck yeah.
And we can be kind of off and running. So I will be shilling the fuck out of that, because traditional advertising is banned from marijuana and tobacco products. So we will be promoting that then. So, hey,
there you
keep
go.
An eye out. Buy some weed from me.
Yeah. Dude, totally.
Fuck yeah.
Well, anything else going on?
Other than that, no. My bladder's about to explode, so I got that going on for me.
Well, why don't you go ahead and go to the restroom? You could always find Phil at Nobody Cares Phil on Instagram.
That's right.
Or then Phil Nobody Cares on Facebook and Twitter.
Oh, he remembered. Actually, it's just Twitter.
This is just Twitter. Okay.
I don't really promote personal Facebook. A lot of it's public, but it's everything that I usually post on there also makes it to Twitter anyway.
That was the first time I ever did that. So pretty proud of myself.
No, that was good. That was good. No, I fucking love Twitter. Like, and I don't know, maybe it's actually probably just me. I don't know anybody else who loves Twitter as much as I do.
I have never had Twitter. Actually, I had an account, and then I just realized, like, earlier this year, after like a couple of years of not actually going on it, that my account was hacked by a Russian prostitute bot. That like made all these random friends and had messages with like so many fucking dudes. It was really weird.
Wait, so so when you told me to look at your cams like for free and that we could have hot sex, like that wasn't you?
Well, you know.
What the hell?
That might have been a different story, but
I
no.
feel so betrayed.
Yeah, so I logged on and I was like, "Whoa, dude." So weird how that just happened. I had no idea because I don't understand Twitter. I'd be the first. I don't understand it. I don't.
It's an odd place.
It's an odd
place.
Really is.
But it's I think once you know how to navigate it, it's the single most like incredible and addictive app on my phone, no doubt. But especially as all this stuff is going on, like I'm seeing this shit like as it's happening, like breaking news, like just a minute ago, people are like, reporting things in there. There's nothing that gets that more instant feedback.
But Facebook's pretty fucking quick.
Dude, Facebook is days late to Twitter.
On fucking what though? Like on what are you talking about? I feel
on
like
this crisis, I was arguing this like everything that was going on with immigration like a day and a half before I really saw it blow up on Facebook.
Well, I guess I mean, you're probably right. I wouldn't know. I'm barely catching up with the whole Facebook.
No, it's okay. You have friends and you go outside. Like I don't have that.
I don't know about that. But anyways, we can get into that all day. So yeah, you can go ahead and follow me at Hoodrat Stuff with 3 Fs, or follow the Psychedelic Lions Den. That's psychedelic_lions_den. Just to check out and keep up to date with all of the dope art from all of my friends and all of our events. So
and don't forget to also while you're at it, go ahead and follow at Let It Bleedcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, where you will get everything. Just a little reminder to your pages when we post our episodes every Thursday, and subscribe to the podcast, or actually, Jeff Sessions might actually legislate that everybody who does not subscribe to the podcast will be prosecuted in a criminal court. And it's a whole thing. We saw how it went with the other thing. So yeah, just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot for tuning in. We hope that this was a great podcast for you, like it was for us. Tune in with us next week, and as always, let it bleed.
Oh my God, I have to let it pee.